We'd seen that if a substance gains oxygen during a reaction, it is said to be oxidized. And if a substance loses oxygen in a reaction, it is said to be reduced. Let's talk a bit more about oxidation. Do you know what effects it has in everyday life? One of the most common effects is corrosion. In simple words, corrosion is the deterioration of metal as a result of its chemical reactions with the surrounding environment. The surrounding environment could be water, moisture, or even acids maybe. You would have noticed that an iron rod which is shiny initially gets coated with reddish-brown powder when kept as is for a few months. It's called rusting of iron and is one of the most common examples of corrosion. The reddish-brown compound referred to as rust is actually iron oxide. Iron reacts with oxygen to form iron oxide. Rusting of iron is just an example of corrosion. How do we understand corrosion? When a metal is attacked by substances around it, the metal is said to corrode and the process is called corrosion. Did you know that the global cost of corrosion is roughly estimated to be $2.2 trillion annually? It causes damage to all the things that are built using metals. Examples would be car bodies, ships, bridges, and so on. Can you think of other ways in which oxidation affects our daily lives? Have you ever tasted oily food left around for a long time? It won't taste great and you'd say that the food has gone bad. Food going bad generally implies rancidity. Rancidity is a very general term and most often it means spoilage of food in such a way that it becomes undesirable for consumption. Rancid food also smells awful. And that's because oil reacts with oxygen not in a very ideal way. It's also referred to as oxidative rancidity. In this process, the oxygen molecules damage the natural structure of the oil in such a way that it changes its odor and taste. I'm sure you've eaten oily chips and you'd have noticed that the bags in which they are kept are not entirely filled with chips. They're almost half empty. That's because they flush the bags with gas such as nitrogen to prevent the chips from getting oxidized. So corrosion and rancidity are two of the major effects of oxidation. When a metal is attacked by substances around it, the metal is said to corrode and the process is called corrosion. Rancidity most often means spoilage of food in such a way that it becomes undesirable for consumption.